Enoch walked with God, and then he was no more. While others were obsessed with power and pleasure, for anyone who has seen heaven, would be used to bring down what once stood proud. Just a faint trace on the earth and an indelible mark. There is a man in the Bible who didn't die, wasn't buried, left no grave on this earth. His name was Enoch. He wasn't a king, not a celebrated prophet, didn't lead Israel through the Red Sea, and didn't establish any new covenant. But in just one short sentence, the Bible records something that has never happened to anyone else. Enoch walked with God, and then he was no more. Welcome to Prayer Station. No sickness, no farewell, just a disappearance from the world of men. Why? What could cause a human, flesh and blood, to be taken straight into eternity without facing death? Maybe he wasn't just a historical figure. Maybe he was a message from heaven, a sign showing that there is a path, a way of living that not only pleases God, but causes him to reach down and receive when the time comes. Not through achievement, not through miracles, but through a life of walking with God, walking in the middle of a corrupt generation, walking through mockery and obscurity, walking until the day he was taken without looking back. And if that is true, if there were a man who was lifted from the earth while still alive, then it opens a hope, a calling, a doorway you can't ignore. Because Enoch's story doesn't end with a disappearance. It begins a journey leading you back to the chaotic early day, where angels came down and mankind began to face the wrath of heaven. Keep moving into the next part, because you'll soon realize the world of Enoch was never like ours. But maybe it's returning. The world Enoch lived in before Enoch was taken. He was the one taken at the beginning and perhaps the one to be sent again at the end. The earth was anything but peaceful. It wasn't an age of hymns or sermons. It was a fractured world, dark, and full of beings you could hardly imagine. The Bible says the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took them as wives, whomever they chose. From that union, strange beings were born. They were not fully human, nor were they angels. They were a mixture of heaven and earth, powerful, yet fallen, mighty, yet cursed. The ancients called them Nephilim. Modern minds call them myth, but their traces remain scattered across stone carvings, folk legends, and unnamed fears. It was a time when mankind was ruled not by laws but by violence, not by faith but by corruption to the very core. A world where every thought in man's heart was evil. And it was in that very context that Enoch walked with God. He didn't take part in the festivals of darkness, didn't follow the crowd, didn't bow to the new gods man had invented. He lived among them, but did not belong to them. Day after day he kept walking. He upheld an unnamed covenant with a God no one remembered. He still heard whispers the world had long forgotten. While others were obsessed with power and pleasure, Enoch was obsessed with the presence of God. And then he vanished. No trace, nobody. Only a whisper left behind for generations. There was a man who walked with God, and then he was no more. But did he go far away? Or is he being preserved for a purpose even greater? Because the Bible doesn't mention Enoch just once. It reveals he will return. When the final days draw near, when humanity once again sinks into the darkness of old, when the trumpets of heaven begin to sound, his name and his mission will resurface. And if today's world is starting to resemble the one Enoch lived in, then maybe his journey never really ended. Keep going to uncover a hidden book. A book not found in the common Bible, but one that has stirred up theological debates for centuries. A book called the Book of Enoch, the banned book, Secrets in the Book of Enoch. If there's a book that reveals what's happening right now, why is it not included in today's Bible? That is the controversy that has surrounded the Book of Enoch for centuries. This book was quoted by many early church fathers. Even Jude, one of the New Testament authors, Skylo, directly cited it. So why was it removed from the Bible itself? Could it be that it said too much about things the world doesn't want to hear? Because the Book of Enoch is not a light story. It's a deep revelation of the spiritual realm, both of light and darkness. It tells of the fallen angels, also known as the Watchers, who abandoned their heavenly posts, came down to earth united with humans and created a generation of chaos. They taught mankind how to forge weapons, how to use magic, how to manipulate nature and control other people. Knowledge that was twisted, power that was corrupted. The world became so contaminated. God decided to cleanse the earth with a great flood. But amid holy wrath, Enoch, the one who had seen it all, was taken up into heaven, not to escape, but to bear witness. He saw the heavens. He heard the voices of mighty angels. He was shown things never revealed to humankind. In the early chapters of the book, Enoch describes the gates into the heavenly realms. He sees the judgment of God where the fallen angels are bound, awaiting their sentence. He sees the ends of the earth, the deep oceans, fire and frost. And above all, he sees one seated on a throne of glory, the one who will come in the last days. Not an angel, not a prophet, but one like the Son of Man, given glory, power, and eternal dominion. Enoch saw him before time began. He saw him lifted by angels. He saw him anointed to be king over all creation. This wasn't just a prophecy, it was a revelation, a foreshadowing of the Messiah himself. What sends chills down many spines is this. The Book of Enoch describes the end times in detail with signs we are witnessing today, one by one, and that is exactly why. Some have said this book is too dangerous to be widely shared. It doesn't just speak of heaven, it exposes the invisible powers manipulating the world. It doesn't just glorify the light, it shines directly on the darkness hiding beneath what seems normal. It doesn't just foretell the future, it awakens ancient memories of a world humanity has long forgotten. And if this book has been preserved for thousands of years, then maybe it's not just for the past. It's a signal for your very generation. So keep going with us to uncover what Enoch saw when he was taken up, not in a dream, but in his body, real and alive, up into the heavenly realms. And if what he saw has been hidden for centuries, then maybe what you're about to see is not meant for ordinary eyes. The ascent to heaven. The 7 heavens. Close your eyes and imagine being called by the Creator himself, not by thunder, but by a quiet urging, irresistible and deep. Enoch heard that call. No one knows the exact moment he was taken up, but the Book of Enoch recounts, in trembling detail, every step of that journey. He wasn't swept up by a whirlwind, nor was he carried by a chariot of fire like Elijah. Instead, Enoch was led through 7 heavens, 7 realms of divine cosmos, where no ordinary man may tread. The first heaven, where rivers flow with light, where birds sing in a language no human has ever fully grasped, where there is no shadow but also no sun, for the very glory of God is the light. The second heaven, where angels oversee the earth, every wind, every cloud layer, every season, where the storehouses of weather are kept, rain, snow, mist, all in perfect order, never chaos. The third heaven, where the souls of the righteous find rest, where waiting no longer feels like punishment but like hope. But from the fourth heaven onward, everything begins to shift. The fourth heaven, where light and darkness intersect, where Enoch saw the celestial bodies on sun, moon, stars, all guided by angels of strange appearance. Each planet, each orbit, a reflection of heavenly order. The fifth heaven, where the fallen angels are imprisoned, their glory stripped away. Now terrifying in form, bound in chains, awaiting judgment, they scream, they plead. But no answer comes. The sixth heaven, the dwelling place of holy angels. They do not merely sing. They carry out the decrees from the throne. They preserve history. They guard time. They hold even the silence of God in the final days. And then, the seventh heaven, the highest of all. No human word can describe it. There Enoch saw a throne of glory, not built from matter but from absolute power. And the one who sat upon it could not be looked upon directly. His light was immeasurable. His voice made even the highest angels fall face down. And there, Enoch, a human, was brought, not to worship from a distance like the others, but to stand before the throne, to listen, to behold, and to write it down. Enoch was not just one who was taken, not just one who ascended. He was a witness, one who saw with his own eyes what even angels dared not gaze upon. A messenger, the first of humankind to stand inside the throne room of glory, and yet live. And that is why he could never return the same. For anyone who has seen heaven no longer belongs to the world. But Enoch's journey did not end there, because what he saw in heaven was not meant for him alone. It was a message, a warning, a prophecy. And in the next section you will see, why was one man given an assignment unlike any other? To judge the fallen angel and to warn all humanity. And if Enoch saw such things, then perhaps even you are being invited to glimpse a small part through the words he left behind. The judge of angels, a mission beyond mortality. Enoch had only tasted just a glimpse of a mission that would one day be fulfilled by the Anointed One. When a man is taken into the heavens, we might think he is granted rest or simply allowed to behold the glory. But what happened to Enoch is unlike any story ever told. He was not taken up merely to observe. He was given an assignment, a judgment, and the target of that judgment is none other than the angels themselves. Not mankind, not nations, but beings who once dwelled in the light are now cast out of heaven for their rebellion. These angels had descended to the earth, taken wives from among humans and given birth to a race of giants, breaking every boundary God had placed within his order of creation. They didn't just sin, they taught humanity how to sin. They passed down forbidden knowledge, weapons, sorcery, genetic corruption, wisdom twisted by lust. And when the earth became too defiled, God chose Enoch, a man, to be the one who would deliver the sentence. Because what is seen as weak would be used to bring down what once stood proud. He was sent to the angels imprisoned in darkness, not to show mercy, but to declare your petitions will not be heard. Can you imagine such a thing? A man chosen to be the messenger of judgment over beings that once flew through the fire around the throne of glory. A man standing before creatures capable of crushing earthly kingdoms, and yet declaring on behalf of God, "Your time has come to an end." This was no longer a mere mortal. Enoch had transcended the role of mankind. He became an anointed one, not as king, not as prophet, but as a bearer of divine judgment. And in this role, Enoch became the very first shadow of a priesthood beyond Levi, beyond physical temples. A priesthood that came directly from God, without lineage, without ritual, without man-made religion. That priesthood would be fulfilled again, not through another ordinary man, but through the one called the Son of Man, who will come to judge the living and the dead. The calling that Enoch once tasted, it was a foreshadowing of that one. And if you think the fallen angels belong only to myth, then look at the darkness spreading through the world today. Corruption, wickedness, chaos, these are not natural phenomena. And the judgment, as in the days of old, is being written again. But this time it is not only for angels, it is for all mankind. Because the last days are drawing near, and the catching away, like what Enoch experienced, will no longer be for one man alone. Keep walking, because the next section unveils a thunderous vision. Could Enoch be the first prophetic symbol of the rapture? And what does that mean for you, the one living in the final generation? Foreshadowing the rapture, a warning to the final generation. In all of Scripture, only 2 people were taken up without tasting death. One was Elijah, the fiery prophet carried away in a chariot from heaven. The other was Enoch. No trumpet, no thunder, no whirlwind, just a man quietly vanished. For he had walked with God, and then was no more. That wasn't just a miracle for him alone. It was a prophecy in motion. Enoch became the prototype, a prophetic type of something yet to come. A generation to be taken up from the earth when the world enters its darkest hour. In the New Testament letters, the Apostle Paul once wrote, "There will be a trumpet blast, and the living who remain shall be caught up to meet the Lord in the air." But this was not a new idea, for long before that, Enoch had lived it, not as a theory, but in real flesh and blood. He was living proof that there is a way of life that enters heaven without passing through death. Not because he was flawless, but because he walked a path few are willing to follow. A path of no rebellion, no compromise, no contamination from the world. A path of walking day by day with God Himself. This is not just theological, it is a spiritual law. Those who live as Enoch lived will see what Enoch saw. And if today's world is beginning to mirror the one Enoch once faced, a fallen society, a world filled with modern Nephilim, power structures merging human systems with darkness, then maybe we are drawing near to another great catching away. Not everyone will understand, not all will believe, but the promise still stands. A generation whose bodies will be transformed in the blink of an eye, and they will meet the Messiah in the air just as it was written. Not because they are strong, but because they walked with God in a time when no one else dared to walk anymore. Have you ever felt like you don't belong here? Maybe you're being called, not to run away, but to prepare for a disappearance not of defeat, but of glory. And if that is true, then you need to know the most important thing. Enoch is not just a figure from history. He is a reflection of you, if you choose to live by the same calling. Step into the final part, because what's coming is no longer a story. It's the real call for those ready to be caught up, an invitation to you. Step into the journey of Enoch. Enoch was no myth. He was a real man, living in dark days yet not consumed by the darkness. He didn't build a temple, didn't write doctrine, didn't leave behind fiery sermons, just a faint trace on the earth and an indelible mark in heaven. An ordinary life with an extraordinary ending. And the most astonishing thing is this: his story wasn't written to be remembered, it was written to invite. Lord, if you are taking up a generation out of the darkness, please do not pass me by. Because just like Enoch, you're living in a time of deep contradiction. The darkness is more subtle. The voice of truth is silenced, and walking with God, once honored, some is now mocked. But maybe that's when the call becomes clearest of all. Not the call of religion, but the call to a deep relationship, step by step, with the one who created you. The call to walk while the world stands still or turns away. You don't need to know all theology. You don't need to memorize the Bible. You only need to begin, like Enoch, with one quiet decision. There will not be a single step in my life without your shadow beside me. Walk, even if no one else joins you. Walk, even without applause or cheers from the world. Walk, because you know there is one who sees, who hears, who waits, and who knows. Like Enoch, one day you may be no more. Not because you vanished, but because you were taken to the place where you truly belong. Enoch's journey didn't end in the past. It is just beginning in the generation you now live in. Because if God once took one man without death, then he can do it again. And this time, it might not be just one man, but a people, a generation, a scattered group across the world marked by one thing. They walk with God. You could be one of them. If this video stirred your heart, if Enoch's story touched something deep in your spirit, leave a comment. Share this video with someone who feels lost, forgotten, so they'll know God is still calling. And there is a journey, not for the perfect, but for those willing to walk. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, so you don't miss any revelation to come. We're not done with the journey because Enoch left a mark on heaven. And today it's your turn. Amen.